I'm Leslie Silverstone, pronouns she, her, and I'm very excited to have Peter Baek join us. Peter is the manager of the Youth and Family Services at the LGBTQ Center in Long Beach. They've been with the center for 4 years, starting as a volunteer before moving up to coordinator and then program manager. Peter and the rest of the youth services team work to create a strong, affirming support network for the Long Beach LGBTQ plus youth community. And I realized that, Peter, what I wanted to know more about was the youth and family services part of the LGBTQ Center. However, I'm also aware, and many people are aware, that the LGBTQ Center in Long Beach does a lot more in addition to that. But I thought for our purposes, the youth and family part of the program was most important. So thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Should I just get into it, Leslie, the presentation, or are you good to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
So everyone can hear me okay, I'm assuming. So once again, my name is Peter Baek. As Leslie said, I am the manager of Youth and Family Services at the LGBTQ Center Long Beach. If you haven't heard of us, we have been around for a pretty long time now. I would say, give or take 20 to 30 years, depending on when you want to mark us as actually officially existing, from the couch or actually being in a building, depends. And yeah, for the center, we do a lot of different things like Leslie alluded to, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And let's see. And can everyone still see the screen? Okay. Good to go. Okay. So yeah, we are the Youth and Family Services Program at the LGBTQ Center Long Beach. The LGBTQ Center Long Beach. Our mission is to advance equity for LGBTQ plus people through culturally responsive advocacy, education, programs, and services. Our vision, we envision fully affirming communities where all LGBTQ plus people live in health, wellness, safety, and prosperity. And we will kind of be going into specifically what we offer at Youth and Family Services. However, first I'm going to go over a general overview of what we have, just so you're aware of what we offer at the center as a whole. So first off, we have our mental health services department. This department is a department that offers therapy that is LGBTQ plus affirming on a sliding scale. So what that means, if you're not sure, sliding scale means that it's based on income level. So if there is an inability to pay, that shouldn't be a barrier to receiving mental health care. And also if a client comes to us who maybe has a specific insurance or is looking for a therapist in their network that is competent when it comes to LGBTQ plus experiences and identities, mental health is able to make referrals to providers they know of that can fulfill that need. We also have our health services department. Health services is composed mainly of HIV, STD testing and referrals to providers who can provide LGBTQ competent care, once again. And then we also have our legal services department. This is a fairly rare department, I would say, at most centers. We are one of 3 centers that offers legal services in the state of California. And specifically, our legal services department offers clinics when it comes to name changes, gender marker changes. Many of you may already know that getting your name and gender marker change can be really complicated. And if the paperwork is incorrect in any way, it can lead to very drawn out delays. So our legal services department does provide consult with that. And they also provide legal representation in cases that have to do with things like domestic violence and intimate partner violence, especially when it comes to LGBTQ plus communities that in many cases are kind of ignored when it comes to those situations. We also have our older adult services department. This program mostly focuses on offering social groups, peer support groups, and different resources that would be helpful to the community. We also have our cultural programming. Specifically, we have stuff like Black and White Ball, Long Beach Pride, and this month we actually have Q Films, which is our collaboration with the art theater next door in Long Beach, next to our center, where we highlight LGBTQ plus filmmakers, and it's a great time. So it's actually this month if any of you are interested in attending. And last but not least, we have Youth and Family Services, which is our department. Youth and Family Services serves a lot of different age groups. Specifically, we serve folks from as young as 4 years old to the age of 29. So our range of clients is pretty expansive. Specifically, we are divided into about 4 different groups. We have our children and family groups, which is for youth that is 12 years of age and under, as well as their parents and caregivers. We also have our teen programs, which is for any LGBTQ plus or questioning youth who are 13 to 18 years of age. And then we have our transitional age youth programs, which is for anyone who is the ages of 18 to 25. We also have a school advocacy program, which I'll get into. But first, I'm going to get kind of more into detail about the different groups that we offer. So first off, we have our Mentoring Youth Through Empowerment program. This is our teen-focused peer group. This is a drop-in space that occurs every Friday. It is for, once again, LGBTQ plus youth who are 13 to 18. In this drop-in group, we mainly focus on creating peer connection. So that means that we encourage our attendees to interact with each other, process things together. So maybe we'll have a topic about going back to school and maybe being newly open at school, for example, right? And how that feels and what people's different experiences are. But really activities vary, group discussions vary, and we really want to make sure that all the activities and group discussions we have build life skills, emotional well-being, and resiliency. So then for our next peer group, we're going to go into the family groups now. First off, we have Generation Q. This is our group specifically for LGBTQ plus youth who are 9 to 12 years of age. This is a group that takes place every other Thursday. It usually runs for about 90 minutes or so. And in this group, we usually take the youth to usually outdoor spaces or spaces where they can kind of play and, you know, be in spaces that are free of any kind of judgment or any thought where it's like they have to constantly have the burden of being, you know, having to think of the possibility of being bullied or singled out, right? We want to create a play space that is just that, a play space for LGBTQ plus youth, which a lot of them maybe don't get in a lot of their school spaces and friend groups. So yeah, Generation Q is our activity group for that school age. We also have Transparent Families. This is a group that takes place the last Saturday of each month. It is specifically intake required. We want to make sure we protect the privacy of the people who attend, the safety of those who attend. So we always ask that people do a full intake before they join us. Transparent Families is a group that is specifically for the parents and caregivers of trans and gender nonconforming youth, as well as the trans and gender nonconforming youth of these families, specifically for those who are 4 to 12 years of age. Transparent Families actually is kind of a 2-part group. There is the first portion, which is for parents and caregivers to basically meet with each other as peers and talk about the various experiences they've had and maybe some tips on how to deal with things like your kid getting singled out at school. Maybe there's not enough bathroom facilities that are available that match what feels best for your child's gender identity. And really, it's also a space that's great for processing for parents who maybe are really new to kind of the journey of being an ally to their children. And then the play group that's also paired with this group, which is for the 4 to 12-year-olds, is really a group that does have curriculum, things like activities that are enriching, so maybe ones that are focused on self-reflection, but also just having that drop-in aspect of having a space that is open for the kids to be able to play with each other and talk about their experiences, which, you know, is kind of a rare space to find. So we're happy that we have this group. We also hold parents caregiver workshops once a month. We do this the same day as Transparent Families, usually the morning prior. This is a workshop that takes place online, usually from 10 to 11. And this workshop is really a workshop that really teaches the basics of how to be an ally. So we call it Allyship 101. It goes over things like what's the difference between sex and gender, right? Why does expression not determine sex or gender? What is orientation? How do I support people who come out to me? How do I support them when it comes to environment, right? How do I use someone's pronouns correctly? If you or anyone you know feel really new to kind of this whole world of allyship and how to support your child, this can actually be a great resource in order to give someone a base understanding of what tools they can use in order to make sure that their support is done in a way that is affirming rather than hurtful or traumatizing or alienating. So we also have our transitional age youth groups. So this is usually youth who are college age, ones who are just kind of going into their first jobs, you know, they're moving away from home, things like that. We have our 20-somethings group. This group specifically happens every other Wednesday, and it is for any LGBTQ plus youth who are 18 to 29 years of age. It is a facilitated peer group, which means that we generally have a topic each week that we all discuss together. And we usually also have a activity of some sort, whether that is a collaborative game or maybe some kind of collaborative craft that folks can participate in that really creates that social network. So that's 20-somethings. And we do have another group called Transverse. That one is for folks who are 16 to 25 years of age, but we are putting that on hiatus for a little bit due to some like low attendance stuff. We're seeing that a lot of folks maybe use that group more for virtual support. And now we're finding that folks, especially our youth, really want places where they can be in person. So we're doing our best to transition that into an in-person group. And then lastly, we have our school advocacy program. Specifically, when it comes to schools, sometimes they're maybe not the best when it comes to creating an affirming environment for their students, especially their LGBTQ plus students. So Youth Services does its best to push local schools to provide that affirming care. And this is done through things like checking if schools are providing the legally required 2-year trainings for their teachers and faculty and staff on how to be LGBTQ plus competent, that they are providing the facilities that students rightfully have access to that match their gender identities. Same thing for things like sports, same thing for locker rooms, things like that. And also just ensuring that they have good representation in their curriculum, right? That they actually educate students on LGBTQ plus experiences and don't treat it as something that should be considered odd or out of place or not appropriate for schools, as I'm sure many of us have heard from a lot of recent legislation. So we're trying our best to push against that. And in fact, we actually have a formal contract with Long Beach United School District, a unified school district, where we have 2 staff members who are dedicated to providing things like training, to ensuring that their wellness centers that social workers usually head are able to provide that support to their LGBTQ plus students. So, and then other than that, we at the LGBTQ Center Long Beach also provide things like linkage to resources. So if a youth comes to us looking for housing, for example, or maybe they're looking for a, once again, like a doctor who's maybe LGBTQ plus affirming, they are looking for a school that is a good environment for them, we do our best to provide resources that would be able to lead them to those. So yeah, that is essentially an overview of our services. Once again, my name is Peter Baek. I'm the manager of Youth and Family Services. My email is right here. We also have Cal Biggery, who's our lead school liaison, who's the one who does all that school advocacy. And we have Danny Garcia, who's our transitional age youth coordinator, who manages our college age programs. We are onboarding a couple new people to our team as well. But if you or anyone you know has specific questions about our groups or the resources we offer, or you're just interested in signing up, be sure to email us at youth@centerlb.org, and we can get the process started to get you added to those groups. So yeah, thank you for listening to this overview.